Today is the 27th of January and I'm back to show some of my progress on what I have been working on. I can't believe that we are already at the end of the month. It just seems to go so quickly. But it has been a relatively good month. So I have done pretty well with my stitching this month. I did say in my last video that I was going to focus on fewer pieces to try and actually get more done, rather than just spreading my stitching time out with a lot of pieces. So I think I really wanted to just, hone everything in and focus on something in particular so that I could get some more progress done. I think I'm more of a progress stitcher than I am of a process stitcher. That's the word I'm looking for. I do like stitching, obviously, otherwise I wouldn't be doing it. But I think because I'm always doing full coverage and the ones that I have are usually quite large, not supersized. I don't like doing supersized ones. I feel like they're a bit too daunting and unmanageable. And for instance, my Riverwalk charm, which is a regular size, I was tired of it long ago. So I feel like working on something for years and years and years and years can, for some people, be a little bit daunting. And I think for me, I probably would prefer to work on something that I know I could get done in a couple of years. And I think going forward, that might be the case. Having said that, there's no knowing what's going to happen next because, a chart could come along and then boom, there I am, starting it up, not even paying any attention to how big it is. Or that's just the way it rolls. We kind of can't fully decide what we want to do from one day to the next. But anyway, we can only use our feelings as a guide, I guess. And what I found mostly is that I like to see that I'm going to actually finish something within a reasonable, and when I say reasonable, I'm saying like a few years. I'm not even saying like a few months, within a reasonable time frame. So for me, I would stick to reasonable size, anything that isn't over the 100,000 mark, I think. But anyway, I've still got loads of whips that I need to get through. So I'm narrowing things down and I'm focusing on things, and I'm finding at the moment that's helping me feel a little bit more like, I don't know, like I'm in a sort of decent routine rather than just all over the place. So with that said, I'm going to explain to you what it is I decided to work on or focus on for January. And that, of course, is my HAED sal, which is called Battle. Now, I've made a few notes here. I do actually use these hoops quite frequently. I find they're good for when I'm sitting on my sofa and I just balance the hoop on my stomach or on a cushion, and I can reach behind, and I can even do the two-handed stitching as well with hoop. I think this one is this a 10-inch? It might be. It looks bigger than a 10-inch. This one might be the 10 or 12-inch one, and it's just about the right size to get a good amount of stitching area, and they're not heavy to hold like the Q-snaps. So yeah, I'm finding that if I'm not using a stand, it's much easier for me to pick things up and put them down, and pick them up and put them down again. And I can also see the television. I don't have to be peering over my stand. So that's kind of working for me. The other size that I also use is the slightly smaller in comparison. So that one too. So it's like the largest one and the next one down. And, you can go online and you can find these ones. I do sort of like the Nudge, but I find I can't get them as tight as I want them for some reason. I don't know. I know there is a certain way of doing it, but I'm sort of okay with those at the moment. So let's begin with the HAED sal that I mentioned, so this is mostly the fabric that I use for my full coverage. This is 25 count even weave, and as you can see, it's pre-gridded. I have not drawn this grid. This grid is already there when you buy the thing, and it's relatively soft. It's like a cloth more than something that's harder and firmer, and I kind of like that. I think that for a lot of people that do full coverage, that works pretty well. So I've got a few notes here on how my performance has been for January. It's not going to be a super long video, like I said, because yeah, I'm sort of thinking I don't really have anything interesting to say now because I'm working on just 2 or 3, maybe a 4th one if I'm so inclined. So really, what I can't do long, lengthy parade videos or anything like that. But for as long as you're still interested in what I'm doing, I will continue to upload my progress. Otherwise, I don't know whether it's worth it, because if nobody's interested in what I'm doing, then it's time consuming to do the videos. But I do enjoy coming back and connecting with everyone. So let's see, we've got Battle, which is a HAED sale. I'll put a picture on the screen of what it looks like. It started officially on the 1st of January. However, it didn't really start on the 1st of January. I think it was around the 27th or 28th of December last year that they sent out the chart to all the participants. So everybody had different ideas of what they wanted to achieve with this. Some people decided that they only wanted to do 1 page so that they could win the exclusive Amy Stewart chart. That was the reward for doing 1 page. Other people decided they were going to do all 6 pages this year, and then they were going to aim for getting all of the charts as a reward. And I think when you finish the whole piece, you get a choice of 3 charts, which I don't think have been, from what I can see and hear, haven't been the most popular choices. Nobody, I don't think there's many people that are interested in stitching those. If anybody has been interested in stitching those, let me know, because I'd just be curious and interested to hear if anybody likes them. If you don't know what they are and you're in the actual HAED sale group, you can go into the featured posts and you can find a post which has a link to those charts, and you'll get them up on the screen. You'll be able to see what they look like. They're quite varied and different, so I suppose they were trying to cater to different tastes, but I don't see a lot of people, raving about them too much. So I managed to do quite a bit this month. I got to 10.19%, which is good. So now my goal was just to sort of try. Actually, I'd like to get a full finish this year, but I don't know. I can't predict that I'm going to keep it up for the whole year, but it would be nice to do that, I think, because then I will start next year fresh, not have to think that I've still got it on my plate. So here is my progress so far. I am working this on 10 stitch. I'm doing 10 stitches with 2 strands on this, and I'm pretty happy with it. Now I'm working it, I started doing diagonal, and I was working diagonals on the top left corner, and then I decided no, diagonal's not for me, and the row by row with all of these block colors is just taking too long. So I started doing cross country here, like limited cross country. Limited is what you're seeing here, which means I'm not going too far down. I'm just picking a color, going down about 2 or 3 squares maximum, and then stopping, because I like to have something to anchor my thread to at the back and you can see my back is relatively neat because I've been paying attention to, flipping it over and running my needle under the back. And even though it's quite thick, I actually don't find it too difficult. I'm actually finding it quite easy to do limited cross country with 2 over 1 10 stitch, and I don't find it bulky at all. I think it's because I'm carefully deciding which stitches I pick up and do. So I'm basically working the stitches that have got less colors first, and then doing the surrounding stitches that have the most colors. And I think this gives me a better chance of covering the threads at the back and also being able to get my needle through. I've never had a problem so far with this, and there is a lot of confetti in this actual sail here. This part obviously is more blocky. As you can see, it's straightforward stitching, but this part here is a little bit more tricky because it's quite confetti. So I've been careful how I maneuver, how I arrange my stitching direction so that I can avoid things like bulk and knots and things like that. And it's working pretty well. So for instance, I might take this color here, see these empty stitches, and do those. Then I'll end the thread, and then if there's any onesies in there that need to be done, I'll do those. So I finish the whole little area, then I move to another little area, whether it be this side or this side, and I do a few of those stitches, and I move to another area, and it just keeps it ticking along without having all those gaps. I think I don't really like having too many gaps. I don't mind the gaps here as I'm working downwards, but for instance, if there was lots of gaps up here and up here, I think I'd just have to go back and do them. So I'm really liking the way this is coming out. And if you look at the progress that other people are making on this, it's such a varied amount. It's such a varied style that everybody's doing. Some people are doing all the dark colors first and then filling in with lighter colors. Other people are doing it the other way around. Other people are working all the way to the end and stopping and then coming back and working all the way to the end again. So they're just kind of working the whole top section and down. So it's really interesting to see. Sometimes I feel like it would put, with the stitch alongs, it kind of puts me off. I thought it would put me off that so many people are doing the same chart, that you think, well, what's the point of me doing it? I'm seeing it so many times over and over again via other people that are doing it. But actually, it's quite nice to see your own style of a piece that other people are doing the exact same piece, so that you can compare and say, oh, it's interesting that they've done that section and I did that section, kind of way. So that is kind of interesting to me. So I don't regret starting it. And like I said, I have been making this a focus piece. As you can see, I've managed to get 10% done in this last 4 weeks, which is pretty good going. So I did a total of, so far, I've done a total of 6,228 stitches in January. And January is not over yet, so I probably am going to work on it for the next couple of days as well. So my dilemma now is, am I going to go down or am I going to go to the right? I don't know. I'm probably going to continue going down is what I'll do. So yeah, and it's interesting to see how other people have approached it, and also how the different colors are looking. Quite happy with that. So that's Battle by Heaven and Earth Designs. Okay, so the next one that I worked on this month, just kind of using this as a soft base. The next one I've worked on this month, which some of you might be able to predict, is the Sad Fairy. Now this one was started, actually I'd been saying that I started this one in 2019. I actually started this one in November 2020. So I'd added an extra year, which I shouldn't have done. She is another Heaven and Earth design, and she's a regular version. I was like happy to start loads of regulars back then, which just completely overwhelmed me. And I ended up UFOing quite a few because I just felt like I couldn't keep up at all. But this one, I'd got so much done in her that I couldn't abandon it. And I've been working on her quite diligently. Again, she's been like kind of the second focus piece. And I'm just going to put here the area that I've been working in. So again, I went and did a little bit on this side, just here. And also, if I open her up a bit more, you can probably see, compared to a previous photo, which I might put up on the screen. So the whole top section up to here is done more or less. I have finished her elbow and coming down to her cuff. So all this area is what I've worked on, more specifically this area here with all these blues and purples, the white. The white is tricky to see always, but thankfully I have an off-white canvas here, so it's not too bad. And again, coming down in limited cross country with 2 strands tent, which I'm finding really good. So I'm enjoying her sometimes and sometimes not. That's the best honest answer I can give. Sometimes I feel like, oh, I can't be bothered to do this one anymore. And then other times I feel like, oh, I really want to get some progress. So there's no knowing, you know, what my feelings will be from one day to the next. I am not looking forward to doing these thorny branches here that come down. But I guess I've got no choice. If I want to get her finished, I'm going to have to contend with these thorny branches again. But just for a little bit, because I think we're at the home stretch now, down the bottom. Although on this side, I have a little bit more way to come down to get to this sort of line that I've got. So I could actually come up here and finish this little area, or I could go back to this side and carry on with her arm. So how many stitches did I do on her? 2,445, and she's now at 71.51%. And I think, I don't know, but I think it's looking pretty good. I mean, I do love the chart. Obviously, otherwise I wouldn't have started it. But I feel like I've just seen it too many times. And every so often, I have to put her away because I feel a bit burnt out with the whole thing. But I still think that, you know, I'm still interested enough to finish it. Not put it away for too long. Although I think last year I probably didn't get very much done. And yeah, 71.51%. So we're, you know, it's getting there. It really is getting there. I don't know how much I'm going to put into it in February. We'll see. Hopefully I'll be in the mood. I think that's the way things are going for me lately, is will I be in the mood? Will I not be in the mood? I kind of am what you call a swee-wee stitcher. So I stitch what I want when I want. I find that relieves a lot of pressure for me. My voice sounds a bit croaky again today. I've had a bit of a cold coming and going. So sniffly and sinusy stuff. And yeah, just the weather's been appalling. Just trying to get through January the best I can. Like a little snail coming out of its shell. Okay, so the next one I have is called Fairy Whispers. I have worked on Fairy Whispers this month. Not very much. I have to say, I've worked on her. Oh, why am I saying her? Fairy Whispers is not a female. So I've worked on this one a little bit. It's not a focus piece. I've restarted this one about 3 times already. So I'm hoping this restart is it's going to be the last. I'm not doing any more restarts of this, if this goes pear-shaped, but hopefully it won't. So this is my progress. And I'm at a total of 3.5%. I've done 260 stitches. This is a Heaven and Earth design by Lisa Parker. Everything I've showed you so far is Heaven and Earth design, and they're all on the 25 count. Really enjoying this one. However, my method of which direction I'm going has gone a little bit astray. I started on diagonals, and then I started on doing like the typewriter method. Then I decided, no, I want to go left and carry on this way. I filled in this section. Then I came back down here. So yeah, in terms of direction, it's like a drunk on a Saturday night. I just didn't know which way to turn. But the stitches were going in, which is the important thing, right? That's the main thing. And I didn't get much done it, but whatever I got is something, because as I said, I was focusing on battle and focusing on the other one. So that's what I've been mostly picking up most days, has been those two. And every so often in between, I pick up another one. And I think that's sort of working for me for the moment, is working on battle and then picking up other ones around that. So there's not much else I can tell you about this one. This one's just coming along quite nicely. I do love these colors specifically. I really adore them. And I don't know which direction I'm going to go from here on out. I did add some extra fabrics, fabric to either side in case I wanted to put it back onto my, I don't know, I went through a week of I'm only wanting to use Q-snaps this week, so I had to put extra fabric because, as you can see, the end of this chart here left me with little more than an inch to wrap around a Q-snap. So I thought, no, that's not going to work. So I added some fabric to each side so I could wrap it around the Q-snap, and then I'd be able to stitch. Same on this side. I think this was a cut-off piece of fabric that I used. It was enough to get the design on, but not really good enough for, even for the hoop. As you can see, my hoop mark is going right to the edge here and down. So there's no like goals in mind for a lot of these. I'm not really goal orientated. I find that placing too many goals is like work, and I don't like to stick my hobby into a work category. I just want to stitch whatever I fancy stitching, and that suits some people and doesn't suit others, and I think that's just the way it is. So if you're the type of person that loves goals and making sure that you get a certain amount of stitches done a month, that's fantastic. I really admire those people because they're, you know, they've got more stamina and resilience and patience and everything. I just feel like pressure. Yeah, that's what it feels like to me. So that's Fairy Whispers. We'll let you know if that one comes out in February. Probably is all I can say. Or I might swap it out for another one that I'm doing called Castle, which is the Stitch is So Beautiful. I might take it in turns with those two. The other one I worked on this month is called Vatican Sunset. I haven't showed this one for a while, so there's going to be a good amount of progress that you haven't actually seen before. And so this one is another Heaven and Earth design, Vatican Sunset. It is, I would say, my favorite so far. And I've got loads of progress on this one. So here is where I'm up to. So again, we're talking cross country. I hope that's lined correctly. And just look at those colours. Aren't they just stunning? The purples that are coming out on here, absolutely beautiful. So I came down and I thought I need to get this little bit done because I'm loving the look of it. And mostly just working from left to right. So kind of doing a little bit down here where the colours are dark, and then going up and doing more of the sky because the sky is, again, very interesting and colourful. And alternating, I think, between darker and lighter and then coming down a bit. So everything's kind of going to just like glue together when I get there. This will connect up with this side will connect up with this side. So again, it's another form of stitch what you want when you want, and also stitch on any part of the area that you want, which I think is, you know, quite freeing and lets you have that, you know, open space where you can decide and choose, and you don't have to feel that you're rigidly stuck in one area. I think I was feeling a little bit too confined when I was doing the blocks, and I just sometimes thought, you know, I'm tired of doing a certain area, I want to move to something else. But you can't if you're doing a rigid block or row by row, so you have to stick to that. But then I think, why do I have to stick? I don't have to stick to anything. I can just move around as I want to. I can even decide if I want to go to the end of the piece, which I think is somewhere down there, around here. But yeah, this is my favorite at the moment, and I think I would like to make this a focus piece, but I feel a bit bad for making this a focus piece because I've got Sad Fairy to be getting on with. So I don't know. I want to get as many stitches as I can get done. Obviously by the end of the month, but it's give and take, isn't it? You can't do everything. And then there's other things like reading and other crafts. But so Vatican Sunset, let me tell you, I've done 2,439 stitches this month, and I'm at 13.35%. I just love this one. I could just sit and look at this one. I could stitch on this one and nothing else, honestly. I just love it. And I think once the lights and the buildings here come in with all the contrasting city lights and everything, Vatican lights, I think it's going to look gorgeous. I just really do. That's what I love. I love landscapes with beautiful colours like that. So I hope you like that one. I've worked hard on this. I'm keen to get more done on that. And so let's move on to, okay, I think that's everything that I've worked on this month. Yeah. So those are 1, 2, 3, 4 main pieces. And you can see that there's been a lot done on them because of the fact that I have narrowed everything down and just focused. And I think that's helped considerably in getting more stitches done on a certain piece than in all the pieces. I think that way suits me better. But I did want to talk a little bit about one piece, and I'm going to bring it out. I think, is it under here? Yes. This is called, this is a Heaven and Earth design which was given as a freebie for people who joined the HAED style in 2024, which I did. I never finished the piece that I did in 2024. It was a cat. And I don't even know where I've put it. So there's that. Just get that out of the way first. But anyway, apart from that, to not go off tangent, because I've now forgotten what I was talking about. Yeah, yes. So there was a freebie called Lady Sewing or something about sewing. Lady, I'll put the picture up on the screen. A few people started it. I don't think it was a big start for a lot of people. I started it, and then we all realized that it was quite dark compared to the picture that was given out, the mock-up or whatever. The mock-up looked a lot lighter, and it does look a lot lighter on Pattern Keeper than the actual stitching part looks. The stitching part looks quite dark. So that kind of put me off a little bit, and I put it aside. And I thought, I'm only going to stitch on this once somebody else has done some more and I can verify this. So basically waiting for somebody to do more, to do some, so I can see whether I think it's too dark to continue. But I don't think anybody's really got far enough into it, like done a huge amount that I could say, oh yeah, no, it's fine. So I lost interest. I have to admit, I've put it away. And then I've realized that the same chart is available on a website called Golden Kite. And this chart that they have there is the same chart, but the way it's charted is that they're using blends. So there's about a hell of a lot more colors, like 160 colors, I think. And around half of them or a third of them are blended colors. So you have to use one strand of one color and one strand of another color. Now, I'm not happy about doing blend charts that have blends. I've done it with kits, and I just find storing them back in my bobbin box and everything is a little bit of a pain. So I don't know, given that, what I know about myself, I don't know whether I'm going to be hugely interested in doing the Golden Kite version. However, I will show you what I've done on this one so you can see. It's a bit of a strange order, and my fabric is all dirty as well because it just needs a wash. But anyway, this is pretty much what I've done. And I started up here, and the only light bits I can really see are up here. The rest is pretty brown, all just brown. And this is not the top of the chart, by the way. The top of the chart is somewhere up here. I think I knocked off 2 or 3 rows because I thought it's just more of this stuff. And if I want to do them later, I can, because obviously I can just go up and do them. However, I thought I'm going to start a few rows down and see how much lighter it gets. Doesn't really get a lot lighter. I got to here and thought I'm going to start going down to where her head is and see how much lighter that is. It's a lot, it's very purpley. You can see it's very purpley. Now I'm going to put the mock-up picture up on the screen so you can see the difference. And I just don't think I'm warming to it enough to continue, to be honest. I've seen an improvement here when I've got to the lampshade. And I think the whole piece, when you look at it from a distance, is probably going to work. But I don't know if I'm invested enough to do the whole piece because it's quite large. It's a big piece. It's going to take a long time. Am I invested enough in putting that time in to something that I might not be 100% happy with? That is the ultimate question. Am I invested enough to put in all of this work to something that I'm not 100% sure is going to be just right for me? So, given that, she's back into the cupboard until I can decide one way or the other. So I could go and get the Golden Kite version and contend with the blends and know that the outcome is probably going to be lighter and a bit more true to the picture itself. Or I just carry on with this one and trust it. So tell me what you would do. Just out of interest, tell me what you would do. For now, the best thing to do is to put it away and leave it until, because I'm not going to be stitching on it anyway. So until I could make a decision about it, that's not coming back out. It's going to stay in my box. And like even here, this is supposed to be a lady sitting with a dress, and I can barely make that out really. So yeah, I don't know. You let me know what you think. Okay, that's it for the stitching. The only other thing I did this month was a bit knitting, and I started a triangle shawl, if I can find it. I got this gorgeous yarn and I didn't know what to do with it because it's so thin. And then I thought, you know what, I'm just going to do a simple triangle shawl. I don't even have a pattern for it. I know how to do it off the top of my head. Basically just to increase a stitch on one side, on one row, and then you knit the other row and rinse and repeat the 2 rows. So this is the gorgeous, gorgeous ball of yarn that I got. Look at those colours. I absolutely love that. It's got like a purpley bit in the middle. And I thought this yarn is so thin. It's good for either socks or a very thin shawl, like a long triangle shawl. And this is how it got so far. So I started down here. This is getting cat hairs on it. What I didn't think about was that my cat has got very light hair. So it's not looking great with all the cat hairs on it, being a darker colour. So you start here and you just work backwards and forwards in rows, increasing on the one side, not increasing on the other. And this is as much as I've got done. So I think, so you end up with these like parallelograms, they call it. Yeah, well, these diagonal waves of colour. So I just think that looks lovely. I think that's a nice choice of pattern for this particular wall, because I'm not a sock person. I don't do socks. So that's what I've been working on, mostly at night when I go to bed. And aside from that, we've been playing a lot of card games because my son has been really into playing rummy and different types of card games. So there's been a lot of that going on as well, which has impeded in my crafting time. And I also purchased a couple of books which looked interesting to me. I spend a lot of time reading the back of books when I go into a bookstore. I buy some Kindle books and I like to read them on a Kindle, but I also like to go into an actual physical store and buy a book every so often because I just don't want them to disappear, you know, like to keep them alive. So I do like to go in and spend some money in an actual bookstore. So the first book I got was this one, which just looked very interesting to me. It's called Hawthorne, a Scottish Ghost Story. And apart from the fact that I was drawn to the cover immensely, I mean, just look at that cover with the gold leaf. It actually looks like one of those interesting stories about, I think it's a ghost story. So set in 1871 in some remote place, remote moorland and lonely croft. So if you're interested in that, you can look that up, but I think it looks gorgeous and yeah, very surreal. And I also got this cute bookmark with Hatter. So goodness knows when I'll find time to read that. And the other one I got was this one. I'm not really one for buying these types of murder mystery thriller types, but I thought, oh, again, drawn to the colours. Can you see a pattern here with colours? I think I can. Knave's Guide to Murder by Louise Canish. I have read one of her books. I think it was called, I can't remember. If I remember what it was called, I'll put it up on the screen. And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was something to do with neighbours again. And yeah, it was really interesting. So those are the two books that I can get stuck into. So I'm really happy with that. And like I said, I've got tons of Kindle books that I can also access. So that's it for this month. Thanks for stopping by and catching up with me. I have missed chatting to some of you and obviously getting to know what you've been up to as well. But yeah, I'm looking forward to coming back. I'm looking forward to your comments and what you think of my stitching this month and what I've done, and letting me know what you think about any of the pieces that I'm working on as well. That's always interesting. And let me know what you're working on. I always like to go and check out a chart that I haven't seen before, if there's something that you're working on that I'm not familiar with. All temptations aside, I try really hard not to go and start new things. But yeah, it'll probably trip me up at some point this year. I've been saying no more new starts this year because of the obvious, because I've committed to working on the ones that I've committed to working on, and I want to get a finish at some point. So I'm just going to keep plugging away at it, even if it's slightly on the boring side. But new starts are just going to delay that basically and add more pressure to me. So I'm trying to avoid it. I can't say I'm going to be complete saint for the entire year, but we'll see what happens. I could probably, allow myself a little start towards the end of the year if I've been a good girl, maybe. Apart from that, I'm going to try not to think about it. Try not to get enabled by everybody, because you stitchers, you're so enabling, it's unreal. So I think that's it for this month. I haven't got much else to say. The weather's terrible. I can't wait for the better weather to come in. I'm not liking the dark, short, dreary days. Yeah, I'm not really a huge summer person, but I'm definitely not a deep winter person either. I think the dark, gloomy days they're just gloomy. So with that said, I hope everybody has a wonderful February, and I look forward to coming back and chatting with you all again soon. So take care, my friends. God bless, and bye for now.